Tucson. Tucson. Man, I've had a bunch of these Tucsons. Look at that. A crazy good spinner. There's something right there. And it's up on top of that. I'm thinking it's a bigger knife. It's not super heavy, so maybe not. But man, have I had a bunch of these Tucsons lately. Courtesy of TimbersEdgeKnives.com. Yeah. They put them in, and I get to get my grubby hands all over them. Ooh, look at this one. I've been excited for this one. Yeah, buddy. Come on, man. Can't get it out of that package quick enough. It's Christmas. Oh, my goodness. Oh, come on. Wow. The milling. Look at the milling. Pocket clip, and then this carbon fiber has that same milling, and then micro milling around the edges. Ooh. Ooh. It is a bigger piece, though. Let's wipe that oil off, and then we got to get that blade out of there. Oh, wow. That milling has created a really nice effect on that carbon fiber. Oh, do I like this so far. Let's get that blade out. Yeah. You know, so, oh, very cool. Night morning design, TS491, 14C 28N, satin stonewash finish, titanium scales, titanium pocket clip, full titanium backspacer, and these wonderfully milled carbon fiber inserts on both the show and the clip side. Wonderful, very nice. So here's what I was giggling about a second ago, is it does not hurt my feelings to find this level of a knife with 14C steel, because what it does is it takes a knife like this and puts it in the category of something that I wouldn't hesitate to put this in my pocket. I know, man. All y'all watching my channel are freaking millionaires. You're knocking back, six figures, all, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But there's budget-minded, retired people like myself that are on a serious budget. And so it makes me giggle when a knife like this, the titanium, the carbon fiber, puts 14C in it instead of some exotic steel or high-end steel, which almost assuredly doubles the price of the knife. So I'm thinking this will be a budget piece, but I would expect it to be under 100, but I could be wrong. We'll see. It's a liner lock. I say it's a liner lock, but it's, in essence, it's a frame lock with a piece of carbon fiber insert on top of that lock, so you don't make contact with it necessarily when you're handling it and deploying it. See, my fingers can stay on that carbon fiber. It's got nice jimping on the flipper tab. I mean, almost like a harpoonish thing going on here with the blade. Maybe some choke up opportunity there. Yep and yep. Yippee yep. Yeah, wow. Well, for all the oil that was in it, definitely going to disassemble this piece. So let's go ahead and do it. And that pocket clip, I mean, I'm going to check it. I'm going to preemptively check it because the tension on it feels not near good enough. And so if I'm going to take the knife apart, I'm going to check it. Yeah, that wouldn't hold half of this knife in a pocket. So I'm going to have to try to get some tension on top of that. Doesn't help that the milling is running with the material. So if this, there's really nothing to grip it. Just slides right out of there. Well, we'll try to put some tension on it to see if we can't help it. I make a big thing out of that pocket clip because it's something that I look for. I want to know that the knife is going to stay in my pocket. I've lost a few knives that have been able to find their way out of my pocket. And so it's one of those things that when I'm looking at a knife, I would really like it. Oh, look, the little barrel screw has got a threaded end that goes all the way through the knife into the pocket clip, and it helps hold the scales together, because once I took that out, the whole knife come apart. Yeah. Super skeletonized, super lightweight. Yep. Super. Looks like big bearings. What's underneath this steel washer here? What's in there? Yep, multi-roll bearings. See, and I talked about this on another newer Tucson recently. Tucson. And here's what I talked about. The idea of taking a knife apart, I would never know the knife had multi-roll bearings if I didn't look in there. I'm not sure if it's listed anywhere. These hardened steel washer inserts. Let's get this one out. There it is. Yeah, they're not stuck in there, but there's suction created by the oil that's behind there. Oh, look at the terrain milling here to reduce weight on this side. Yeah. It is a lightweight knife for as big as it is, for sure. All right, let's get rid of the magnet. We won't need it. Lots of pieces, man. Well, we'll just start from the outside and work our way in. Yeah, very lightweight. It's because they've milled a bunch of it out to keep the weight down. Unfortunately, yeah, it's probably going to reflect itself in the cost. All this milling and work, and which, begs the question on a knife like this, if you're going to go and do all of this machining and work to this knife, should you have just gone ahead and put, an M390 or, an S90V, or, should you just gone ahead and put a higher end steel in here, and made it a $200 knife? Should you have gone ahead and done that? Because if you'd have put that, if you'd have made this steel right here, S90V, is it a $200 knife? Well, I think so. But it's full titanium backspacer, and it's got a nice centered groove in it. I'm sure that's to minimize contact with the blade, but by adding this, it's been one of the criticisms of Tucson knives for a while, in that you can make blade contact through the scales on a lot of their models. And so I think they're paying attention. Because, I'm of the opinion you should never be able to make contact with the blade or the tip when the knife's in the closed position. If you can, there's something missing. So let's go ahead and, oh, that's so thin. So I think part of our challenge here is going to be, they did the clip also as a weight reduction project. And so it is paper thin, the whole thing. And so I put a little arc on it, but it's just so thin that it flexes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna scratch up in against the grain of this clip coming out of the pocket to hopefully help it catch that pant material, because it's smooth as glass. It's got a small contact patch that's about a millimeter wide, and it's super smooth. So by me scuffing that up, it might help this clip grab material and hold it in the pocket. I'm not sure if any of what I just said is going to be true or not, because this clip is, I mean, it's as thin as a sheet of paper. Now, is it tough? Yeah, it's titanium, but yeah, I think that's where we're gonna catch this knife. Not that I'm trying to catch it. I mean, I try to accentuate the positives, and it's not that I downplay the negatives. The negatives stand for themselves. I don't got to rant about it. Well, I'll tell you, one of the recent things in the news, of course, Charlie Kirk assassination, um, is the outing of all the people that rejoiced in his murder, his assassination, and losing jobs, and I mean, mostly losing jobs, but being called to resign from companies, and companies distancing themselves from these comments and all this stuff, and it's an interesting thing of vengeance and paybacks, and comeuppance, and you know and some are making the point, well, listen, these people have come out and said that Charlie got his just dues for spewing hate and the things that he had to say. And so now people are being canceled and have consequences and things that they're paying for. And I guess the question becomes, is that right? Is it right to take on that position and wish these people ill that have that took that position? I know that I've mentioned before, I struggle with anger and forgiveness, and certain things along those lines, and I'm kind of in this position that I don't hate these people. Um, I don't wish them ill, but I kind of I have to think about, well, how do I feel about what happened to Charlie? Well, here's my thoughts on that. Charlie knew full well what he was doing, and he knew human nature. I mean, he knew that he was at risk. He knew that he may be giving up his very life, not his livelihood, like these people are complaining about. They're, oh, I lost my job and I got fired. He knew that he was at risk to lose his life. And yet he continued to do what he was doing. And so it was important enough to him and his personal convictions to see it through, regardless of the consequences. I mean, you follow my logic here? And so he knew the risks involved and that he could absolutely be killed for his beliefs and his opinion. And so, do I feel sorry for Charlie Kirk? I think when I feel sympathy for Charlie Kirk, it's maybe for like all people that pass from this earth. It's for their loved ones, because they're the ones that are left behind to grieve and have sorrow, children and wives and mothers and fathers. You know what I mean? But in the end, when we leave, I mean, we're told that we don't give thought to the things of the earth. Like, we don't feel grief, and we don't feel homesick in heaven. We don't feel sad because of our children. The things of the world become God's concern and not ours. And so, is Charlie grieving in heaven because of his wife and his children? I mean, I think Scripture tells us that that's not how that works. And so, do I feel sorry for Charlie? I don't. Does human nature kind of want us to feel like that? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know, maybe the way I was raised and the things that I've been through in my life, I don't tend to swing sympathy and empathy like that. Life's pretty cut and dried. It is what it is, and our paths take us where we go. Our decisions put us where we are. And Charlie knew full well what he was doing. He knew the risks involved, and yet continued to stand on his faith regardless of the consequences. If only I could be so brave, right? I mean, so that's my opinion of that. If only, man, I had a heart attack several years ago, and when it hit me, I was out on my motorcycle with some other guys on motorcycles, and yeah, I mean, we was kind of grouped up and doing BBF type stuff, and if you know, you know. But so it came on me. One of the guys with the group was a medic, and so he checked my vitals, and he said, "Hey, we don't need to be taking him anywhere. So let's get an ambulance here as quick as we can." So, anyways, all this stuff. I end up in the emergency room, hooked up to EKG machines and all this stuff, and in that moment, I found myself praying, and I started praying because I was worried about leaving my wife and my kids, and I was worried about things of the world, right? And I was pretty distraught. I was like, man, am I checking out here? What's going on? And so I started to pray, making deals with God, right? I started going, hey, man, if you'll see me through this, I'm going to turn a new leaf. I was putting my life on the line in a negotiation with God. And somewhere in that process, it swept over me. And you say, well, what swept over you, DM? What swept over you, Tim? Well, what swept over me was how much of a punk I was being. So in that moment, and I'd been in situations where I was facing my life, right? My breath, and did not respond like that. But in that moment, that's how I was responding. And so my prayer changed. And my prayer changed to, God, if I could have one thing, if you could hear my prayer, and if I could have one thing, it's don't let me go out like a bitch. Yep. So if this is my time, and not everybody maybe would speak to God like that, but it's what I said. If this is my time, help me to go out like a man. Help me to go out with some courage. If this is the time that you've chosen for me to leave this earth, then I pray that I can go out on my feet with some dignity and not as a coward, and have faith that whatever you have for me, whether it's today or a year from now or when, because we don't know the time of our demise, but may I have peace in it, that it's your decision. And so I kind of equate that back to this Charlie Kirk thing. He knew what he was doing. And do I feel bad for his wife and his children and those that love him? Yeah, of course. Because they're suffering. Interestingly enough, his widow has stepped up with a resolve that's not shocking at all. If you think about who Charlie was, that resolve isn't shocking at all. Coming from the wife who was led by a husband with the resolve that he had, the faith that he had, the way that he guided his family, the principles and the leadership that he brought into that unit. It's not surprising at all that her response is what it is. So back to this issue, and then I'm going to finish this knife review. How do I feel about these people losing their jobs and doing all this stuff? Do I have some sympathy for them? Maybe a little bit. And here's why. Because they never in a million years, when they spout that vile stuff, do they realize that there's consequences. They're always shocked. They're always shocked. Am I shocked that Charlie Kirk got assassinated? Yeah. Am I shocked that somebody did it? No. I'm shocked at the event, right? But am I shocked at the evilness of men? Absolutely not. No chance, man. Human beings we're born into sin, all of us. And I'm the worst. I know the things that I've done and the things that I've thought in my lifetime. And I think I'm the worst person I know. Yeah, so do I have some sympathy for them? Yeah, somewhat, I guess. They don't know what's coming. They don't realize. Here's the other thought that I have with it, and I'll finish this knife review. The other thought, and what I thought is I need to figure out how to turn the camera around so that I can put my face in the camera when I'm talking about these things. I'm gonna have to figure that out, right? But here's the other thing that I'm realizing is the things that are being said about this guy are so untrue. Snippets of things that he said. For instance, I mentioned sympathy and empathy. Charlie, there's a quote going around now, and it's one of the things used to hate on him and his legacy, is that he said, yeah, I'm not a fan of empathy. But if you read the whole conversation, he said, I'm not a fan of empathy. I'm more in the camp of sympathy. I can sympathize with a person's situation and have sympathy for them. But to have empathy and inject emotions into somebody's life decisions doesn't make a lot of sense. Which, again, is exactly what I'm saying about Charlie Kirk. Do I have empathy for that situation? I don't think it's appropriate. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that people hated him. He knew that he was hitting a bee's nest. And he knew that that day could come for him. So do I empathize with that? No. Do I have sympathy for him? I, not considering where I think he's at, right? Like he's not stressing all this now. He's in heaven, man. Like he's not sweating it. Now, I do have sympathy for his family. And to be honest, I have some for these people that are spouting this without concern. Only because I don't think they realize the consequences for their actions. I don't think they have any clue. I think that we've gotten to a place where it's okay, like when something like this happens, we just go, riot in the streets and burn buildings. And so that's kind of the thought. Something like this happens, we can just spout off and be crazy. I don't know. And so there's my current updates. So this TS491, if you're still here, man, do I like it. Talk about the action on this knife. Of course, I broke it in now, but it's A-level. It's a one-trick pony. It's only got that back flipper, but it's a nice one. It's got good jimping on it. So, I'm going to give it A-level action. It's super snappy, very comfortable in hand, great ergonomics. It's easy to and intuitive to access this lock. I feel like this is slightly lowered and then scalloped on the other side, but very intuitive to reach in there. Doesn't take a lot of tension. Fall shut action. Let me change that. It's drop shut action. That's very hydraulic. Very satisfying. The blade is centered and it's got that telltale groove in it so you can see if in fact it is, right? I like that feature. You don't have to go, is it off a little or is that truly centered? Yeah, so this one really shows it. Back to the ergonomics, wonderful grip. It's got excellent knockdown on the scales. It's got micro milling around the edges. Yep, very nice. Good platform for the thumb. Can get up here and I can choke up into this spot if I really want to bear down and slice. The reverse grip is very comfortable. I like it. My fingers grab that clip. Very comfortable. But even better, I can get here. And my palm is completely tucked in there. Very confident, powerful grip right here. And I'd much rather be here than here. Yep. Very cool. Let's run that pocket clip again and see if I've impacted that. Not sure if I have or not, but we'll see. It's definitely got more tension, but this is not a this isn't put on your ninja outfit, clip this into your back pocket and then scaling walls and, trying to get into the evil leader's lair like Bruce Lee, right? And enter the dragon. Yeah, this, it's a big knife, but it's probably more likely a front pocket knife for me, just because of this clip. I would want it up here in the front pocket. I would not want this in my back pocket. Now, with that said, about 1/4 of an inch sticking out. It's got this wonderful milling on the clip. You can see the milling and the carbon fiber. It's a good look on a pocket knife. But even with tuning that clip, I wouldn't want this back here in my back pocket because I'm pretty sure I can just shake that right out of my pocket. Yeah. All right, safety. It's got a full back spacer, so there's no blade contact. Thanks Night Morning and Tucson for designing knives now that protect that blade from the back. The tip is recessed. I cannot catch it. Just enough of a hump right there to get me past that tip. And the clip it's meh at best. Yeah. Spine wacky. Yeah, it's awesome there. And then that 14C, big, tall, flat grind. I'm going to listen for how quiet this is going through this super thin phone book paper. Here we go. Yeah, it's absolutely a razor blade. All right, well, how much are these? Clearly, these are going to be over at Timber's Edge Knives because that's how I get my hands on them. So let me get you a price for this thing. Okay, well, yeah, unfortunately, like I said, all that's going on in there, this is listed at 105. And so with a 10% discount, $95 to your door is what this thing's going to run. So it's a little on the higher end, but it does have the double roll bearings. It's got an immense amount of milling. The carbon fiber, the titanium scales, the pocket clip. I mean, there's a lot of work going on this knife. And so, yeah, it's going to cost a couple of bucks, but is it a nice piece? Absolutely. Very cool. I think they have limited quantities of these, maybe 3 or 4 of these that they have. So, yeah, don't be surprised if these sell out pretty quick. Anyways, appreciate y'all watching and listening to my rant. And hey, comment below. Should I turn the camera around when I'm talking about that stuff, or would you rather just watch me function the knife? What do you think? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just trying to figure out how I should be doing that stuff. And hey, I'll listen to y'all. Let me know. See ya.